Scrappy Peeps, it's Suzanna here today with week 4 of Allison Davis's 6x6 paper pad sketch. That was the double page layout. This is the left hand side, and then this is the right hand side of that double page spread. So this is a 10, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 picture sketch. There are, I showed you quickly the sketch there, supposed to be 1 4x6, 2 3x5, 4 4x3, and 4 square 2x2 photos. I don't have that many photos, so I'm going to do as I do, and I'm going to modify this sketch. So I am going to, when you look at the sketch, it's actually almost like 2 distinct pages, and they're tied together by the product that you use. So I have the left-hand page is got a Bella Blvd, so I'm using all Bella Blvd goodies, all from my stash from scraps. And then that piece of pattern paper there is going to be the 6x6 square top square, and that is my uniting page. If you follow my videos, I like to have one piece of pattern paper that is a multicolor paper, and that is the uniting factor. That determines the bulk of my color palette. And then I'm going to go with that pink wood grain down below, and I then found this, it's actually, they're 4x3 cards, and I am going to use those 4x3 cards on the right hand side of these 6x6 squares, and they are going to fill in the space for the 4x3 photos that I don't have. I have lots of photos of my daughter and the cat, and however, I don't have 11 photos from this particular incident. When it comes to my children, I am lucky if I get the 6 photos that I got, so that's why I'm going to go with it. I know that those 4x3 cards on the right hand side, I intend to fill in the spaces. I'm using it for the borders and for the colors. So these photos are of my daughter and the cat. The cat's name is Belle, and my daughter's name is Mia, and so that'll explain to you the letters, the M and the B, that I use later on. Since we have been quarantined and are staying home, well, actually, to be honest, this began before quarantine, but it got put into fuller enforced effect now that we are in quarantine, and my daughter has what she calls mandatory nuggles. So that is, it used to be 60 seconds, 30 seconds, I can't remember. It's grown in time over time, where the cat is held captive and she is not allowed to be let go, and the two of them get to snuggle together. And Belle very patiently puts up with this process. So when I have committed to things is when I adhere them down. Sometimes the adhering down is necessary in order to facilitate the building of other parts. So you can see how I process the process of me building the layers in my layout. This is a piece from Illustrated Faith, and there are particular pieces that I wanted, the hearts. So in the sketch, the main embellishment that Allison uses is hearts, and because of the love relationship between these two, I really do want to continue to use the hearts as the embellishments that I have on my page. So I really like this jar. It's strawberries and jar of sweetness. I like that the strawberries kind of mimic the heart, and I really want to use that as an embellishment on the page somewhere. Now, I don't really like the weight of all of those photos on the left-hand page, and I really feel like that one particular photo works better over there on that right-hand page. So I really like the way that the jar substitutes for that third photo on the left-hand side of the page there, but that requires me trimming down the photo. So what's unusual about this for me is, so those square photos with the white borders are typical of what I do. I like to print my photos with white borders on them. That is not something that I feel like I can always do when I'm working on double page spreads, because when the photos are are touching, the sizing is often for them to be exactly as they are. And then if you print with the white border, I typically do what would total a 1/4 inch border on either side, so an 1/8. And then piecing them together, because the photos never print at the right size, it all ends up being a little bit ski-wampus. So I did not print any of these other photos with a white border, but because of the white border on the right-hand side, I do end up backing the photos with just white cardstock. I really liked that heart paper that I put behind my daughter. You will notice, some of you may have noticed, the hearts are upside down. The photo is the right way. The angle that I was standing when I took the photo is as you see it now, but it's a kind of a funny angle. It's not a traditional angle for a picture, and so I keep wanting to put her head at the top of the photo because that's where heads normally are, right? So you'll see me struggle with this a couple times, and so I've put that center photo on upside down. The hearts are falling downhill instead of standing heart right upright, and so I will have to fix that. So there's that white border on that photo there, and I really like that jar in place of the other photo, but there's a proportion problem there, and so I will address that a little bit later on as we proceed further through the video. So I've determined where the photos are going to go. I've determined the general layout. I've determined the general substitutions that I've made. So instead of the 2x5 squares cascading 4 of them, I've got 2 2x5s. I believe those are 2x5s. And then I've got that one bigger picture, which allows me to have a little bit more playroom in that cascading effect there. So also on the sketch, there are 2 trios of banners, one to the top left of the photo, and then the main photo, and then the other to the bottom right of the main photo. And because I'm working on that patterned tone-on-tone blue cardstock, I'm going to continue to stick with that color theme, and I'm going to use pink and red. Pink and red are not traditionally colors that I like to see together, but I really like the way that there is red and pink in the elements that I've used, and the way that they really do pop the photos of the cat and my daughter. So to the right here, I have a bunch of embellishments. I have solved that inequality of right and left side of the main photo by putting that dated card by Ellie Studio. It says on this day in March. Everything else I am using is Bella Blvd from my stash. So I want to cover these cards, playing cards, and fill in these spaces. I know I don't have that much journaling. I know I have journaling. I know I have plenty of story to tell, but really it just ends up being decorative on that right-hand side of the page. I am not one to put unnecessary things on a page, but I did feel that I wanted to use this sketch with these particular photos and to have these sort of space fillers that weren't too busy, that didn't distract your eye from the photos and the story. We're going to work perfectly to use up some of my stash. So these things here, these embellishment packets, are super, super old. I am digging pretty deep into my stash. I am a huge Bella Blvd fan. I have been for a super, super long time. And early on when I started scrapping, I was actually more of a collector than I was an actual scrapper. And I have decided it is time to burn into and break out this stash. What good does it do sitting in piles on the floor or in my scrap space? Use it. So I am trying to get stuff used. So various different collections, the things that I pulled things that had the color palette that I am working with. And I did pull a lot of the square elements because I thought that maybe the square elements would work instead of those photos, the square photos, or that I could fussy cut things. So committed to this, gonna stick it down. And I'm really pleased with the way I was able to integrate that Ellie Studio card in to balance out the right and left hand side of those photos, or my lack of photo on that right hand side there. I think it ties it together really well. And allows me to use that jar that I wanted. I am going to, and you'll see this in a minute, pop that jar off with some foam adhesive from ThermoWeb. I'm notching out the banner. So the best way to notch out a banner or to make these banners is you literally just cut in the middle down the bottom as far as you want that notch to go, and then cut from the corner into the end of that cut so that you get symmetrical banners. Dead easy, and a great way of doing that without needing a punch or anything else to rely on. I know that, so in the sketch there is a journal spot that's right there where I'm working on that top left hand side there, and so you can see how I have the banner doesn't go all the way down into the photo, and that is because I know that I want to put something there, and I struggled to find a black label. I wanted black because I've used a lot of the blue, that's the whole background, and I've used a lot of the red and the pink, and I want that black to go with the cat and how dark she is to offset some of the weight of her. That's why I chose that particular color for the label. I just didn't see anything in the LE Studio that I had at the time that I had pulled out. I'm sure I could have found one if I had dug. I also have the stamp and the coordinating die, and that hung in the back of my mind to do that, but I really just wanted to use stash rather than create more stuff. And I will find a label later on as I dig through some things. So you can see where I put that up on the foam, and then I'm going to put the layers underneath of the banner underneath that to tie that all together. And I know I'm going to, the title, I put the title where the title is called for in the sketch, and that will go underneath, tying all three of those, well, two in my case photos, and then the other banner together. So that is the bulk of that left-hand side page. I just need to put in the title and find that black label. So now I'm shifting my focus over to the right-hand side of this page. I will tell you that in the sketch, on the left-hand side of the page, which is actually on the right edge of the left-hand page, I hope that makes sense to you, there is a strip of striped paper. I have used the Bella Blvd scallop sticker, that red one, instead. And then in the sketch, it also calls for a coordinating strip on the right-hand side of the right-hand page, so where I've got that aqua one, and so I'm using the aqua. I really liked the way that even though they were different colors, it kind of pulled the whole color scheme together. And then I think I do this off camera. I'm going to put a white one on the left-hand page just for that unity that ties it all together. So I'm covering each of these playing card spots with the various cards that I found. Again, I'm trying to get a little bit more color onto the page so that you don't just have that giant pop of blue and then the pinks in the middle there. And I'm trying to get an even spread of the blue or aqua or teal, whatever you want to call it, and then the pink and the red in there. I really like that black, heavy black square, because when you look at the layout, you'll see the heavy black of the cat on that left-hand page, and it's weighed nicely with that black square, or it's not a square, it's a rectangle, to the right-hand page there. So I didn't feel that I needed to soften that, and I could just leave it exactly the way that it was, which was perfect, because sometimes another one of the things that I struggle with on two-page layouts is getting everything to be the right size. You know, you try and trim it down, and then you trim it off ski-wampus, and then you got to fix that, and then what was once a 4x6 photo now becomes a 3x5 photo. So I liked that I was able to problem solve that and not have to cut out the 4 different squares. And sometimes, especially with these cut aparts, you never cut them right in the middle, so you get a little bit of black on the red line that you don't want. So this was perfect. They fit exactly down the page, exactly the way that I wanted them to. So I'm struggling here with how I'm going to put these pictures. In the sketch, it calls for 4 squares. Well, I've decided not to use 4 squares, but I want something else to fill in that gap where the other picture would be. And so I'm not sure whether from a spacing perspective I want to have that longer photo, which I don't know what size it is because I ended up cutting the photo down and I just kept cutting it till it worked for me. But I'm going to say it's 2.5 wide, probably by 3.75 probably. So here I keep playing around with the weight and the balance of how I'm going to make this cascade work. I really like that heart on the top there, but it feels disproportionately balanced. So I'm going to use that black behind it to create some balance as it moves down the page. But I wasn't sure whether I was going to put the black on the top left, the bottom right. So you saw me shuffle that around a little bit until I settled with where it is now. Because I've popped that jar off the page on the left-hand side, I need a couple of other elements on the right-hand side to balance that off for dimension on the page. So you saw that red heart, which came out of the center of that card over on the right-hand side. I popped that off. And then throughout the sketch, Allison has hearts, a bunch of hearts that cascade with the squares, and then hearts that are over in the banners on the left-hand side of the page. So I will put a few of those in, but most of the embellishment is going to be on that right-hand side of the page because I really do have that long strip of 4x3 cards that need some stuff in there. Earlier I referenced the letters M and B, M for Mia and B for Belle. I thought they could be space fillers in there, but I don't like it. And so I will come back to that and I will actually include it in the page. Sometimes you have to sit on your ideas and let them stew a little bit before you decide whether you like it or not. It's a really old cat collection from Bella Blvd. Stephanie has released a new one, which is really awesome, and I really want it, but I don't really need it because I still have all of this older stuff. So I'm going to integrate into this layout bits and pieces from that collection, and I'm sorry, off the top of my head, I don't know the name of that collection. But those will be the pieces that say Cute Kitty and have the little paw prints on them. I like to fussy cut, and so I'm going to take some of the hearts that are in pattern papers and various other things and incorporate those. And I am sorry you cannot see that left-hand side of the screen. I predominantly create 12x12 pages, and so I know where the center of my screen and my camera is. And I know that to work on a 12x12 double page spread, 12x24, I have to get rid of that trimmer, and I have forgotten in this process, so I apologize. I don't think I do a whole lot that you don't see. So this was one of those banners with the blue heart. Actually, no, it was from a piece of pattern paper, and so I just cut that out. And backing this. Because I'm working on top of those squares that already have stuff in them, I need to back it in order to not see what was underneath and not relevant to the page. So this is the title, Mandatory Nuggles, and I know I have intentionally left the S off for snuggles because that's not what my daughter calls them. They're called mandatory nuggles. And funnily enough, the cat calls them mandatories when I talk as the cat. She talks about how much she hates mandatories, but I felt that by putting mandatory nuggles, which is what Mia calls it, it became a little bit more understandable to people who were looking at the layout. So I've got those strips or words. They're actually, some of them are arrows and some of them are just word phrases. I like that horizontal movement that kind of grounds you because there's a lot of skiwampus elements on this page, and I am not a skiwampus element kind of page person. So I like the way that those horizontals give you firm footing for the page. So this is one of those feline elements from an old cat Bella Blvd line that I was referring to. One of the many things that I love about Blvd, there's several things. One, I love that it is white based, not cream based. I am a white based person. I like clean lines and I like white. So that is one of the many things that I love about Bella Blvd. One of the other things is I love that I have literally got, I want to say maybe 7 or 8 different collections going on here, but yet all of the colors tie together. That same color of pink is used, or hue of pink is used throughout multiple collections. And so I love that you can move outside the box of just one collection with Bella Blvd and have everything have that symmetry and that flow. So I am just filling in spaces here with this page and trying to get stuff to fill those 4x3s, but without looking like I've just randomly kind of coughed up embellishments for it to fill the space. So that is for that piece that I just put down as a phrase, and it says, "All you need is love and a cat." Totally fitting to this layout because my daughter really has a soft spot for this cat, and it's actually kind of hard to do this voiceover right now because the cat and my daughter are on the way to the vet. The cat has not been herself lately. She is only 10 pounds, but currently has dropped down to 8 pounds, and she just hasn't been herself. So we're going to take her to the vet, which in COVID days is a challenge in and of itself, and hope that everything turns out okay. So on that left-hand page, I did kind of shift things over. There's that black label I did find, and that is from Vicki Boutin. So that is one other element. I think everything is Bella Blvd except for that, and then the March card that is from Ellie's studio there. So I'm scattering hearts throughout the page. Oh, and those, actually, the puffy hearts are Ellie's studio. I'm going to use those as well. So a couple of Ellie's Studio goodies, and again, most of that is from my stash too, older stuff. I will stamp on that black label, and I'm going to do that off camera. I had thought I would put the date in there, but I'm actually going to end up just stamping today in that teal to get a little bit more of that teal color in there. I really like the way that aqua teal, I got to learn the difference between the two. Teal is more blue, aqua is more green, but I like the way it pops my daughter's glasses. So that, my friends, is my interpretation of Allison's sketch. Enjoy the close-ups. I hope everybody is doing well and that your Monday has gotten off to a great start. Thanks for stopping in today. Take care.